What up, Homedawgs? My name is Gokey Gamer, coach of the Milwaukee Medichams, and welcome to the Draft Breakdown for our team for Season 7 of the NBBL. For those who don't know, a Pokemon Draft League is where players come together and draft teams to battle other coaches. If you draft a Pokemon, then that means you're the only one who can use that Pokemon during the season. It's very similar to a typical sports season, complete with playoffs to determine a champion of the league. Most leagues have anywhere from 12 to 16 coaches vying for a spot in the playoffs. However, in this league, there is a whopping 28 coaches drafting from the same pool of Pokemon. This means that your picks will be extremely far apart, and getting sniped with your preferred picks is inevitable. Your drafting skills are heavily put to the test, and it's up to you to draft the best team possible and have the ability to adjust on the fly. In order to accomplish everybody getting the chance to draft a decent team, each coach must draft 11 Pokemon, all of them separated into 5 tiers. Tier 1 houses the most OP Pokemon that you see in draft, including some low tier Ubers as well. Tier 2 has Pokemon that while typically aren't banned, they still have some really heavy powerhouses. Tier 3 is your middle of the road picks. Tier 4 has mostly mid to low tier mons, and finally Tier 5 houses the lowest ranked Pokemon, although you definitely don't want to sleep on any of these mons. Each team can have 1 Tier 1, 2 Tier 2s, 2 Tier 3s, 3 Tier 4s, and 3 Tier 5s on a single team. Each team must also have access to 3 Terra Captains, 1 Pokemon from Tiers 3, 4, and 5. We somehow managed to get pick number 7 out of 28. While that means we definitely won't have access to the most broken Pokemon out of the Tier 1s, and we aren't super close to the wheel, we can definitely make a fun team with this. So without any further ado, let's go over arguably one of the most overpowered teams I've ever drafted. And I really mean it this time. I was originally hoping to pick up Fluttermane, however, unsurprisingly, it got picked up before it got to my turn. So instead, I decided to go with a pick that I've used before and really enjoyed. And that Pokemon was Chien-Pao. There were 2 main reasons for me drafting Chien-Pao. The first was this Pokemon is extremely broken in draft format, and I've loved using it in other leagues. The other reason is Chien-Pao hard counters most of the other Tier 1s in this format. The typing of Ice and Dark alongside Fighting and Psychic type coverage is super spammable against almost all of these Tier 1s. Plus, having access to priority in Ice Shard and Sucker Punch is also very valuable. Heck, even Zamazenta Crowned doesn't want to go up against Sacred Sword due to the move ignoring Zamazenta's special ability. Grabbing Chien-Pao immediately puts me as a massive threat that has the ability to nuke teams. So now all I have to do is pair Chien-Pao up with a team that supports it. It took a long time for it to get to my second pick, but I already knew what I wanted next right after picking up Pao. This Pokemon is another mon that I've used with great success, as it played a major role in me earning my first ever championship title in Season 1 of the SPDA Master Ball Division. Our next pick is none other than the MVP Pecharunt. A Pokemon that pairs up perfectly with Chien-Pao, this pick gives me an extremely bulky Pokemon whose ability, typing, and moveset blends with Pao really well. I'm honestly lucky I got this pick as I knew that many people were considering it. Just like how I got lucky with my next pick, that being somehow Raging Bolt. Once I saw that Raging Bolt was a Tier 2 Pokemon and not Tier 1, I knew I had to grab it. Arguably the best Dragon type in draft currently, combining this special attacking bulky nuke with Chien-Pao will allow both of these Pokemon to shine, and I am super excited to click buttons for free with this beast of a Pokemon. After this, I knew I really needed a Fairy type. When competing with 27 other coaches, finding a good Fairy type can be extremely hard as it's a type that many coaches will go for as quickly as possible, leaving you to struggle with a massive hole in your team if you don't grab one fast enough. Thankfully, most people grabbing Fairy type Pokemon by this point were only focused on the higher tiered fairies, meaning I didn't get sniped of my first Tier 4 pick being Florges. A Wish Passer that's extremely bulky on the special side to pair up well with Pecharunt is extremely valuable on this team. Florges also hits surprisingly hard on the special side while also providing amazing support for the team. Having 2 nukes and 2 walls that synergize extremely well together on this team is really making me feel good about how this is shaping up. But I'm not done yet. This next pick was one that I just really wanted to grab, as this Tier 3 Pokemon gives me a niche that no other Pokemon in the game can offer. I've used it once before in the CMM, and since it paired up so well with Spectrier, I'm hoping Deoxys Defense will do the same for Chien-Pao. Deoxys Defense is a near perfect wall. Amazing defenses with surprising speed, recovery, hazard stacking, and the ability to prevent healing with Psychic Noise are all extremely valuable. But the big move that this Pokemon gets is Teleport. Teleport is a negative priority switch move, meaning I'll almost always move second after my opponent has made their attack, tanking whatever they throw at me and allowing me to safely switch into one of my major threats, namely Chien-Pao. On top of that, Deoxys is my Tier 3 Terra Captain with access to the types Psychic, Steel, and Normal. Psychic because I needed my stab type, Steel to maximize my resistances while also being immune to poison, and Normal to make me immune to ghosts while only being weak to fighting types, which I can easily take care of with my Psychic type attacks. Preferably, I'd switch out Psychic with Fairy, but since I need to have a stab type, I'm not able to do that. Now that I've got 3 amazing walls and 2 nukes, I needed to focus on finding more ways to be able to control the battlefield. Conveniently, I also needed a speedy Pokemon, which were rapidly decreasing in quantity by this point. When it got to my next pick, there were quite literally only 2 Pokemon left that were around the base 120 speed that also didn't repeat a type on my team. And once I realized how well this particular Pokemon synergized with Raging Bolt and Deoxys, I decided to go ahead and grab Dugtrio. Now on paper, Dugtrio doesn't look that impressive, but the reason I got Dugtrio wasn't because of his middling attack and quite frankly bad defenses, but because of his speed and particularly the ability Arena Trap. Being able to trap my opponents on the battlefield, particularly the steel types that currently threaten my team, is extremely valuable. With all of the slow pivoting I have, I think Dugtrio was really going to shine on this team. Now unfortunately, this is where I got sniped. Granted, I'd rather get sniped here as opposed to getting sniped from something like Pecharunt, Florges, or Deoxys, but it's still unfortunate. The Pokemon I was sniped of were Serena and Terra Gyarados, both of which would have helped me immensely with my growing ground weakness. But I think I've got the perfect replacements for them. The first Pokemon I grabbed was my Spinner. Rapid Spin on a GM-PAL team is absolutely crucial to remove the rocks set up on the field, and they were almost all gone. Thankfully, the arguably best one, at least in my hands, was still around. And that Pokemon is Colossal, my beloved. This is my Tier 5 Terracap, and one that the fans of this channel will be the most immensely familiar with. Colossal is one of the very few mons that doesn't mind running heavy-duty boots every week, making it arguably one of the best Pokemon for hazard control in the entire Draft League format, even without Terra. However, she is my Terra captain, and I decided to give her the Terra types Fire, Water, and Grass. Obviously, Fire is better than Rock for my stab typing, but Water works extremely well defensively for Colossal, especially for the Flame Body and Steam Engine abilities, while the Grass typing allows both of Colossal's quad weaknesses to Water and Ground to become resistances, while also taking advantage of her final ability, Flash Fire. Side note, I actively tried to draft a different spinner, but Colossal just fit the mold of the team way too well, and honestly, I couldn't be happier. The next Pokemon that I wanted to grab was my Steel type, especially since most of them had gone by this point. However, while I've already got my Flying type planned out by this point, I still wanted to grab some more ground resistances and immunities. Thankfully, the Steel type that I really wanted somehow didn't get sniped, and I managed to grab Orthworm as a result. I'm really excited to use Orthworm as it's a Pokemon that's interested in me for a while now, and I think its defensive bulk is going to come in very handy. Hopefully, Orthworm will really be able to put in a lot of work. The next Pokemon that I decided to pick up was my final Tier 4 as well as my final Terracap. I really needed a Grass type, I wanted a Fighting type, and I could really use a Pokemon between base 100 and 110 speed. Thankfully, Virizion was there to fill in that gap. Terra Virizion gives me another ground check as well as a mixed attacker that can easily run both physical and special attacks. The Terra types that I gave Virizion are Grass, Fighting, and Steel. While Grass is precisely what I needed type-wise on this team, and Steel is really great on Virizion, Terra Fighting is most likely going to change. I'm considering eventually going Terra Fire, but we'll see where the wind takes us. Speaking of wind, it's time for my first flying type on this team to really counter my ground weakness, and that pick is my final Tier 5 Pokemon, Swanna. While Swanna is arguably the most niche pick on this team, it honestly fits super well here. Decent bulk, access to Roost and Defog, a base 98 speed, and a water flying combo means that Swanna fills in a role that no other Pokemon available at this point could complete. I debated about making Swanna my Tier 5 Terracap with Terra Water, Flying, and Ground, but I decided against it because I valued getting rid of Colossal's weaknesses more than Swanna's. But perhaps I will change over time. For now, I think Swanna will definitely surprise some people on this team. And finally, it's time for my second Tier 2. I was able to leave this pick for so long as by the time I started planning out my full team about halfway through the draft, most people had already grabbed both of their Tier 2s. And the only ones who hadn't gotten their Tier 2s yet were not looking into this Pokemon. So I gotta say, I'm extremely lucky to somehow get my hands on Mandibuzz as my round 11 pick. If you thought my ground checks were questionable, you can worry no more. Mandibuzz has the innate ability to just not die. It's insane how bulky this Pokemon is. Combine that with utility moves like Defog, Toxic, Roost, and Knockoff, and you've got a Vulture that never goes down and is perfect for weakening opponents to open the door for mons like Champow and Raging Bolt to absolutely sweep. And that's my team for Season 7 of the NBBL. Considering this was a 28-person draft, I'd say that this is pretty dang impressive. I legitimately think this team can easily carry me to the championships, but I just have to pilot it well. However, since I'm so familiar with how almost all of these Pokemon tick, I don't think I'll have any issues. If you enjoyed this, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of these battles. Battles will be going up every Saturday and uploads will be starting next week. If you'd like to see team previews as well as battles early, then please consider checking out my Ko-fi page down below. On top of that, you'll also get access to a whole draft league's worth of battles with my Monotype draft, which is only going up on my Ko-fi page, so be sure to check it out if you haven't already. Also be on the lookout for tomorrow's video, as this isn't the only draft league I'm a part of, and if you enjoyed this team, I think you're really going to enjoy my other team as well. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Peace out, mates!